Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. General Hospital spoilers. Will Violet run away? Brooklyn and Chase panic over Finn's missing daughter. General Hospital, GH, spoilers suggest that Violet Finn's jovial love. Recent behavior has been disturbing. Brooklyn Quartermain, Amanda Sutton, and Harrison Chase, Josh Swickard, are doing the best they can raising Hamilton Finn's, Michael Easton, daughter while he's in rehab. However, they couldn't have anticipated Violet acting out in school. Violet recently revealed a bully in her class called her father a drunk. She was sorry for hitting the other child, but the kid insulted Violet's hero. Parenting is about to get rough for the newlywed couple. Finn's release won't happen soon enough for Violet, and she may start showing other signs of trouble. She could destroy her room at the Quartermain mansion. Violet isn't an angry child, so if she trashes her room, it may be shocking for Brooklyn and Chase. Or perhaps even more concerning and frightening for Brooklyn, Chase, and Tracy Quartermain, Jane Elliott, is if Violet leaves home to try to meet up with Finn. She may sneak out of the mansion and go looking for her dad. Brooklyn and Chase will obviously go looking for her, but won't find her anywhere on the property. It may be difficult for them, and it could instill fear in them about having a child of their own. They have been talking recently about the possibility of expanding their family. If Violet runs away, it could traumatize the couple. They may even blame themselves for Violet's current state of mind, and may think that counseling or a child psychiatrist could be the best way to handle the situation, as they vow to find and help the troubled little girl. After all, Violet's grandfather, Gregory Chase, Gregory Harrison, died in May, and her father turned to alcohol, causing him to spiral, and he ended up in rehab. Violet isn't used to being separated from her dad. Not to mention, Violet's mom, Hayden Barnes, Rebecca Buddig, hasn't been in her life in years. She left because of a threat from Nicholas Cassadine, Adam Huss, and feared for her daughter's safety. Violet currently lacks guidance from either of her parents. How much can this child take? Of course, Brooklyn and Chase will eventually find Violet, but if she goes missing for days, it can leave a lasting impression on their desire for their own children. They must find a way to help Violet cope. A professional may be the best route. Still, if they feel responsible for how Violet has been acting, they may decide they aren't ready for parenthood. Not yet, at least. In the bustling town of Port Charles, everything can change in a heartbeat, and the latest drama is no exception. This time, the center of concern is young Violet Finn, who suddenly vanishes, leaving her family in a state of sheer panic. As the search intensifies, the mystery surrounding her disappearance raises questions. Did she run away? Or is something far more sinister at play? Brooklyn and Chase's shocking discovery. It all begins innocently enough, with Brooklyn Quartermain heading over to Harrison Chase's apartment to discuss a family matter. She had barely crossed the threshold when she noticed the unusual quietness that hung in the air. Chase, who was sitting on the couch, looked tense, his mind clearly elsewhere. Brooklyn tilted her head, picking up on his discomfort immediately. "Where's Violet?" Brooklyn asked, glancing around for the familiar sight of Finn's daughter. Chase sighed, rubbing his temples as he stood up. She was supposed to be with Finn, but his voice trailed off. Brooklyn arched a brow. But what? "She's gone," Chase muttered. "I just got a call from Finn. He's losing it. Violet didn't come home from school. They can't find her." The words hit Brooklyn like a freight train. She didn't. What? Her pulse quickened, and for once, her usual quick wit and sarcasm were nowhere to be found. "What do you mean they can't find her? Where could she be?" "I don't know," Chase replied, frustration and worry written all over his face. "But I think we're going to need everyone's help with this." Finn's growing desperation. Across town, Dr. Hamilton Finn paced back and forth in his office at General Hospital. His heart was in his throat, and the weight of dread pressed down on him like an anvil. Violet, his bright-eyed, curious little girl, was missing. And no matter how hard he tried to maintain his composure, his mind kept spiraling into the worst possible scenarios. When the school had called earlier that day to inform him that Violet hadn't shown up for her after-school pickup, he had assumed there must have been some simple mistake. Maybe she had gone home with a friend or lost track of time. But as the minutes turned to hours with no sign of her, that initial hope crumbled. Finn had already called Anna Devane, his ex-fiancée and Violet's grandmother figure, to help with the search. But even Anna, with her years of experience in espionage, had come up empty-handed. Now as the sun set over Port Charles, casting long shadows across the streets, Finn felt like he was losing his grip on everything. He had one job as Violet's father, to protect her, and he was failing. He pulled out his phone, dialing Chase's number. The younger man answered on the second ring. "Any word?" Finn asked, his voice strained. "No," Chase said softly. "But Brooklyn and I are heading out to look in some places. We're not giving up." The town pulls together. As news of Violet's disappearance spread, it seemed like all of Port Charles was rallying to find her. Brooklyn and Chase were checking the park, hoping Violet had wandered off to one of her favorite spots. They searched the playground where she liked to swing, the pond where she'd feed ducks, but there was no trace of the little girl. Meanwhile, Carly Corinthos, hearing about the missing child, called in favors to help. She contacted Jason Morgan, who, despite his current issues with Sonny, had resources and connections that could track down anyone in a heartbeat. If anyone could get answers, it would be Jason. Jocelyn Jacks, who had often babysat Violet, also joined the search. She drove around town, calling out Violet's name, hoping that somehow she'd see the girl's familiar face pop out from around a corner. Even Willow Corinthos, dealing with her own personal struggles, was out helping. She had grown close to Finn and Violet, and the thought of anything happening to the sweet child was too much to bear. As she walked the streets with a flashlight in hand, her thoughts churned with worry. What if they didn't find Violet? Or worse, what if someone had taken her? Violet's secret plan. But while everyone in Port Charles was spiraling into fear and panic, little Violet had her own secret mission. She wasn't lost, nor had she been taken. The young girl, filled with a sense of adventure and determination, had decided to run away. It had all started earlier that morning when she overheard a conversation between her father and some doctors at the hospital. They had been talking about something serious, about someone being in danger, though Violet didn't fully understand it. She knew only one thing. It scared her. She didn't want to lose anyone else. She missed her mother and often feared that the people she loved would leave her too. So in her young mind, Violet had come up with a solution. If she could find a way to fix things, to make sure her daddy was safe, then everything would be okay again. And that's why she had packed her little backpack and ventured off on her own. She wasn't far, just hiding out in one of the small garden sheds near her favorite park. It was quiet, and she had brought some snacks, so she thought she could stay there until she figured out what to do next. But as the hours passed, the reality of her decision began to weigh on her. The sky had grown dark, and the cold October air was beginning to seep through the thin walls of the shed. Suddenly, running away didn't seem like such a good idea anymore. Tears welled up in her eyes as she hugged her knees to her chest. She missed her dad. She missed Auntie Anna. She missed being safe. A heart-stopping reunion. Just as Violet's resolve began to crumble, she heard the faint sound of footsteps outside the shed. Her heart leaped into her throat. Was it her dad? Was he coming to take her home? The door creaked open, and standing there with a flashlight was Brooklyn, her face filled with equal parts relief and worry. "Violet," Brooklyn exclaimed, rushing forward and wrapping the little girl in a tight hug. "We've been looking everywhere for you." "I'm sorry," Violet whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I just wanted to help." Brooklyn's heart broke for the little girl. "I know, sweetheart, but running away doesn't help. We're all worried about you." Behind her, Chase appeared, giving Violet a reassuring smile. "Come on, kiddo. Let's get you home." As Brooklyn and Chase walked Violet back to safety, they knew the ordeal wasn't over. There would be tough conversations ahead, but for now, the most important thing was that Violet was safe. For Finn, the moment he held his daughter in his arms again, all the fear and panic of the day melted away, replaced by overwhelming relief. His world was right again, and he silently promised that he'd never let her feel scared or lost again.